J. Barber poetry lovers, today is the third day of the East-West Gathering in 1962, the 1st of November, 1962. So we're going to try to do the poetry parts of the East-West Gathering, which get overlooked because of the musical parts of the East-West Gathering. There'll be Telly, Diana, myself, reading sections of it, and we'll get as far as we can get. There's a lot of poetry amongst this prose and song in this book. I'll just open with Telly. If you could please read Hark, Hark on page 1.
Okay, and how far do I go?
Just to the end of that poem on page 1.
Oh, on page 1 at the end of it. Okay. Hark, hark, my song at Meher's gate, suppliant at his knees. There men may not pass, but must wait until my love they please. May wait 1,000 centuries until my love they please. This is the gate that all men seek and hold as life's high prize. Yet none may enter, save whose cheek is lily pale through sighs, who has lost sight of both his eyes and is lily pale through sighs. Hark, hark, my song awakes the dawn, and dawn reveals love's face. So though the stubborn my song scorn, his mercy gives it place. His mercy is his shadowed grace, and gives my song a place. His mercy is his attribute, which to true song replies, for it reflects his lovely flute in echo melodies. And being so, my love, they please. My love, they surely please.
Raine will read page 2. On the 1st of November 1962, the sun, which had become a last quarter moon broken to pieces by clouds, again became itself in brightness. On the 1st of November 1962, the river, which had become a chain of waterholes, again brimmed its banks. On the 1st of November 1962, the vintner who had scrawled across his shop window, "No further stocks," again opened his door and beamed on his customers. On the 1st of November 1962, the singer who had shut himself in his room again went to the theatre and sang his divine songs. On the 1st of November 1962, there was laughter and weeping from clear seeing across heartscapes, and whispered love talk through the narrow streets of the city of love. On the 1st of November 1962, thousands of nightingales sang to one rose, and that flower multiplied itself into thousands of blossoms in order to satisfy the possessiveness of love. On the 1st of November 1962, thousands of hearts to God-man flew and nested at his feet, and each one knew one moment can a whole lifetime undo. And now if we could go to page 4 for Diana to read But Many and But They Scrounged Around.
One moment, please. But many, if not most, had to talk themselves into the possibility of the trip to Pune. From where to get the money? what to do with their businesses or farms, how to get time off from work and still have a job to come back to. Those coming from Australia by ship would be away for 2 months. But they scrounged around and got the dough, sold things they no longer wanted, and with the flat statement, "I have to go," their bewildered bosses fronted, and those who, above what they needed, had more, shared with the have-nots their surplus store.
And if Tally could go to page 7, with they picked up the tune right through to page 9. The bottom of page 7, Tally. 7.
Okay, sorry about that. They picked up the tune of God-man's flute. Come, oh come and don't hold back, for the vine hangs heavy with purple fruit, which I crush for wine each palate to suit. Wine that makes the lame take the mountain track and the talkative to become mute. Come, oh come, for the time is short to the hour, the moment for which you have fought through 1,000,000 lives, and your blood has bought in the 1,000,000 times of your city's sack, the city of body, the city of thought. So come, oh come, and don't hold back. Come, my dear ones, and don't hold back. Leave for my house the world's drab shack. Harappa, Troy, and Sarmakan are buried beneath the shifting sand, but in eternal truth I stand. Come, O my lovers, one and all, obey with joy my timeless call. And none demurred, each up and stirred the pot of his luck and sniffed its savor, and added some love tears for more flavor, and skipped and danced. If to pass you'd chance, you would have wondered at such behavior. Then each went out with cash, or naught but faith, to book a berth on train or long-hauled ship or airy plane, to see his face, have his embrace, for love's sake and its holy pain. They came from 100 different places, and all had different sorts of faces. All were different shapes and sizes. The world is bigger than one realizes. Some were dark and some were pale. Some were fat, some thin as a nail. All shouted Jaya, which means hail. They came of all conceivable ages and walks of life and states and stages, from buds to blown flowers through time's rages, the young and the fair, the old and the white. And white's a delight when it's 92, and its name is Ruth, a soldier true. They settled down like a swarm of bees in cluster from the master's knees, and there they hung in love's breeze swung, and hummed in 5 different sorts of tongue, English, Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, and Gujarati. They hummed and droned and sipped the wine of God-man's love and truth divine. And time stood still, though it still went by, and one tear fell from every eye that was a pearl that Baba strung on the garland that hung from his neck, that from his neck hung, and the thread of it was his sigh.
In Atta's story, 30 birds set out for Mount Kaf. To Poona came 3,000 odd to weep and laugh. The 30 on arrival were lean and featherless. The 3,000 were worn and wan, but smiling nevertheless. The 30 birds became one bird, for birth's sands had outrun. For each of the 3,000 odd, a new round had begun. To him who craves for soul's release, good luck. But I say this, better alive serving God-man than dead enjoying bliss. So Diana, could you read page 10 in the depths of the ocean and have the double conversation with your heart and soul?
In the depths of the ocean is a pearl. Will you, bold swimmer, bring it in your hand? It is yours by right of heritage, the pearl of kingship over all the land. Do you remember? Do you understand? The soul exulted, with you, ocean, I belong. But the heart replied, why do you long for death? The soul said, I will set sail. The heart inquired, where is your seaworthy ship? The soul said, I will buy one. The heart asked, what will you use for money? The soul said, the price of all my other desires. The heart cautioned, have you studied navigation? The soul replied, better to be shipwrecked and drown in one's own element than to remain land-rooted forever. The heart said, have your own way, but you go alone. I know where my comfort is.
Wonderful. Telly, could you read from My Beloved on page 11?
My beloved is that one who by his singing created the suns and the earths and this earth for men. The thunder and the storm and the pounding surf are but faint distracted echoes of his song. Yet his voice is so soft, it scarcely disturbs the reeds of his lovers' hearts. He lets them sleep along the banks of the river of love until it is morning. The night is his wakefulness, but the morning will be his time of rest. He sent us forth out of Eden, wrapped in the seamless garment of his song. He told us to earn the bread of singing in the sweat of our faces and to cultivate the vine of melody with our two hands. A lifetime of labor would produce one phrase, and many lives would make a complete song. The shadow of his feet is the field of the sky on which he has left the sickle of the moon to remind us of the time of reaping. The shadow of his feet is cool and pleasant, but so is the shade of the mill house where the wheat is taken for grinding. He has warned us that many songs do not make one song, and that the journey of stone is to dust.
The mornings were for the Westerners alone to sit and pour their love out at his feet, for they had journeyed furthest, love to meet. He scraped the flesh of purses to the bone to feed the metal birds that shrilly drone across the skies in return for a seat. Or turn the turbines of ships huge and fleet that cut across the sea's eternal moan. On afternoons, the west and east assembled within the silence of love's golden sound, from which the world began when the sun stars trembled out from the mouth of God. Each lover found that in God's company, distinctions ceased. Each was from tribal prejudice released. They sat down in the shadow of his feet, and their hearts sang of the pilgrimage ended. Could you read, Diana, from page 13, The Bird of the Soul?
The bird of the soul with outstretched wings flies in ever tightening rings of death, then rises again in birth, and a new foolish, heedless song begins. It flies with two wings, virtue and vice. Clip one, It flutters with mad noise. Behold my goodness. Ah, wretched me. Clip 2, it praises self with voiceless voice. This silent song soul approves. Become now stone, then dust that moves at my whim's breath adoringly, seeks not nor ever even knows it loves. But both wings only may be clipped, and singing soul become close-lipped when it flies to the ark of love in which God-man on the world's flood has shipped.
Could Tally go to page 21 at the bottom on the top of the hill?
On the top of the hill stands the king's castle. Leaning up towards it are battalions of flowers weeping, for the king is in a dungeon sleeping. On the top of the hill, the castle seems to be dreaming of the king's past lordship and his future glory when in each heart is sung his matchless story. On the top of the hill, the castle sparkles like a jewel. Its dream and the flower's grief is broken, for the king is preparing to speak the word that is to be spoken.
And Raine will read from page 23. And that night, when he sings his song of God-man, and the lion of his word breaks the cage of his mouth and ranges the countryside, will you stick to your post and exalt man's song to pinnacles of praise, or will you bolt your door against the disaster of melody, the lion of his word? That night, when even stone loses its grip on God's skirt and the cities crash back into the deep of the dream that built them, who will be able to see in the lion's flashing eyes the love glances of the beloved? And in its sweeping mane, his curls? Who will take drops of his blood as it pours out over the earth and form them into the notes of a new song? Hey, take it easy, singer. The sighs and the tears will well keep till God has won his battle and has retired to his well-earned sleep of 700 years. But still, be still, but be poised, ready to leap at the shout of his word, amazed at its glory and sweep. The singers sang and the lovers were entranced by the sweet noise of the words because of the metaphors of the beloved's smile. Telly, could you read page 25? Behold the beloved. Oh, oh, behold the beloved, halfway down on page 25 through to Love's Heart.
My turn or Diane's turn? Diana.
Telly, please.
Okay.
Oh, no, Diana, sorry. Diana, could you read from page 25,
Okay.
halfway down, behold the beloved Lord of love?
Okay. Behold the beloved Lord of love seated on a throne of hearts, garlanded with kisses and his feet washed with the foam of flowers, pouring out the bright wine of love. Listen to his ocean's silent song. I am, and you are that too. Pour your drop into my ocean and become the ocean which in reality you are. Listen to the drop songs of his lovers exultant for a moment on the crest of his love wave. What is your good works with its attendant ceremonies and rituals, theistic or atheistic or merely effetely agnostic, compared to one song from the lover's heart?
Thank
Remember
you.
this. Okay.
Oh, it gets diffusive there. So I love this. I am, and you are that ocean too. Isn't that beautiful? Next is Telly, page 26. My God, my beloved. To well pleased with our singing.
My God, my beloved, to think I have spent my days in forgetfulness and drink, and you were thinking of me. And God saying, come in, my son, for your song has entered the ear of my compassion and triggered the spring of my grace.
Going. Keep reading.
Listen to the songs of his lovers who are drops flying in the spray of the divine ocean of Meher, drops with hearts full of holes through which the breath of God soughs telling himself of their love. They are brave songs, but as anyone with half an ear would know, song's stream is muddied with 100 inflows of customs and conditions. The sentiment is raw, the meter's clumsy, and the tunes are threads of other songs teased in the tenuous textures of declaration. We are unlettered, and we sing to a beloved who is but a veil of radiance, speaking a soft word as he passes through the nursery at night. But in 100 years, we will be making good songs, and in 700 years, God will be well pleased with our singing.
As an aside, there are 8 sorts of lovers: desirers, workers, resigners, builders, the simple praisers, the quiet dwellers, the proclaimers, and the servers. We shall avert that aside and go to page 35 with Diana reading Unless. Page 35. Barbara's Unless There Is Brotherly Feeling, then the poem Unless There Is Brotherly Feeling.
Unless there is brotherly feeling in the heart, your words are horses hitched behind your cart. Unless your heart is a sphere vast and hollow, your eagle journeys are those of a sparrow. Unless your heart is your mind's architect, organizational plans of work reject. Unless your heart becomes a finely cut stone, no building in my name will I ever own. Unless your heart is selfless as a mother's, all statues made of me are those of others.
Page 36 says, I alone do every work that's done. By my pure word creation was begun. That word's transcendent light hid in the sun and threw out planets and earth and made them run their course from earth. Man, my beloved son, I brought forth, and from love I spun garments to cover him gloriously. This done, I taught him next the downward path to shun, to love, to toil, till he from me has won my perfect grace, and all my work is done. My work is your opportunity to partake in my dance. Angels' immunity from work denies them that chance. The knowledge tree's fruit is in a single sideways glance as I play my flute. On page 39, could you read the bottom of page 39 and on to page 40, please, Telly?
How beautiful is our beloved. At one moment, his glance is a paddock of wheat in December. At another, it is moonlight over waters, making a track to eternity. Across the dew diamond fields of his eyes, heroes stride with never a backward glance. From the ocean of them, straight limbed girls come up through the surf and leap along the beach, their bodies glistening in the sun. In the rooms of them, mothers lean over cradles and their babes sleep in safety, and old men with folded hands make ready for glad death. They are the black velvet backdrop for all the plays of the world. His eyelashes are the flags of all nations on tall flagpoles. They are forests through which poets vainly hunt new metaphor. His eyelids are gates of dawn. His eyes are oceans of love, in which are drowned ages of ignorance. They are the day of healing of the nations of their wrath, and the fields of night of the sickle moon's reaping.
Go on, singer, singing, for that is your occupation. But remember that the song is heard only by your beloved and yourself. If your song contains your beloved's name, it breaks the locks on the prison gate of life, and you go forth into the singing silence of self-existence. If not, it knocks on the door of another room, begging another body. Your beloved hears your song, but do not expect it to move him. At most, a raised eyebrow and a spread hand saying, "Ho, my little singer, how bold you have become." But when you're bold enough to have become dust, I will pour wine into the dust's mouth, and then how its tongue will sing. See our beloved seated there on a throne of hearts, his neck garlanded with kisses, his feet washed with the foam of flowers. He listens smilingly to our singing, but he is whetting the urge to sing his own song. Beware, he is plotting a mischief such as never before has been done in the world. Oh, but how tired he looks, how weary he seems. The horsemen of destruction gallop along the roads of his veins towards the villages of his love. Yet he must restrain the gates of his mercy that would burst open and suffer the outrage in his own flesh. Lend me, my sister, your virgin veil for the night, that I may invite his head upon my breast. Diane, could you read? Had to concentrate after that one. Page 44. Oh, we're skipping ahead here. We're running out of time. Page 44. Remember that.
Remember that embrace on your voyage home, lovers. Remember it when you take up your jobs again and you pause on the edge of a sudden vacancy between the typewriter keys or the two tallest buildings, or that drops away behind the horizon in the evening. Remember that God embraced you. Spit into the void and watch the bubbles float, float, and then burst. So much is the world and our hopes from it, a wheel of bubbles like a snake with its tail in its mouth, whirling, glistening. Then remember that embrace. Remember those eyes that promised you eternal reality if you will but wait a little while.
Ellie, could you read? We took them out for a mile for a gink and a deco on 46. A gink and a deco, a look and a longer look.
We took them out for many a mile for a gink and a deco at Baba Places. You should have seen their happy faces, though we took them by bus regular tourist style, and many by now were caught cases, to where God-man was born, where he went to school, and coaxed and thrashed learning's stubborn mule, let the other boys in their games and sports, led the other boys in their games and sports, was judge and counsel and law and torts, an example in chivalrous deeds, words, and thoughts. Took them to the spot where God Brabazon had kissed his brow, and in a moment's span had given him God's self, which state alone he desired, and he beat his head on a stone as the five held him from escape from man. Took them across the plains unfertile, with a gink and a deco and only once a mile, to Meherazad, where Baba now lives, and Merira keeps her hard-kept garden, and Kakabaria is its warden. Here beloved Baba stays in seclusion, and plays out the end game with illusion, and sometimes bathes lepers and feeds the poor, though, as Jesus said, there are always more, and suffers his great humiliation.
He
Then
came at 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more verse. Sorry, go ahead.
Then to Sarosh for lunch, then to Mehrabad with Padre caretakes, which Padre caretakes, and he does it hard, where Baba founded his great ashram that set the pattern for the world to come, and the face of Maya considerably marred.
On the morning of the 10th of November, beloved Baba left Pune and returned to Meherazad. The Westerners who remained, the volunteer workers and the Pune families, came to the mango tree at Bund Garden to farewell their beloved. The workers spread a cotton covering over the ground under the tree for lovers to sit on and placed a seat for Baba. He came at 8 o'clock. The sadness of this farewell for the Westerners cannot be described. None expected to ever see their beloved ever again. Yet the sadness was made shining, for the sun of his love was in their heart skies and would remain there through deaths and births till they were absorbed into its reality forever. The arti was sung and he got back into his car. But the lovers would not let the car move. They pressed around it for a last look at their beloved's golden face and a last touch of his hand. Imperceptibly, though, the car moved forward, stopped, and moved on again. In the time that it takes a man to walk a mile, it moved only 100 yards. At last it reached the road, and the lovers gave up their attempts to grasp and hold eternity in their small hands, and they fell back, and the car gathered speed, crossed the bridge, and disappeared, snapping the threads of their eyes, which streamed after beloved God to bind and bring him back. Diana, could you read page 48, I Found a White Dove, and alternate verses with Telly?
I found a white dove as white as foam on the blue Pacific wave. I made him a golden cage for his home so that he would never leave. A golden cage for my dove, white as foam on the blue Pacific wave. A beautiful cage so he would not roam, and I his dear sight should have.
My lovely white dove, his bright feathers shed, and sang his sweet song no more. My joy and my love fell and lay as one dead, and so I opened the door. My lovely white dove fell and lay as one dead because he was wounded sore. His breast was crimson from where his heart bled, and so I opened the door.
My lovely white dove arose with a cry and sped like a shaft of light. O beautiful dove, return from the sky and comfort me with your sight. Return, oh return, my love from the sky, for you are my whole delight. Return, oh return, with your sweet glad cry, and comfort me in my night.
Return, O my dove, and pluck out the dart of love, or else I must die. Return, O my love, for I have made my heart pure space in which you can fly. Return, O my love, for to be apart means I must surely die. Return, O my dove, to the sky of my heart. There you can in freedom fly. O Meher, my love, my soul.
But now the resolution to live God-man's message and spread it throughout their country sprang in their hearts and straightened their backs against grief and their return to the world. And the sap of his love coursed up the spines of their spirits. And the power of love is greater than the power of the uncoiled serpent which the yogis seek. For the latter blossoms in a single flower of personal glory, but love becomes a stout tree, giving shade and fruit for many along the dusty road of the world. Diane and Telly, could you read and alternate the last poem?
Sing, oh sing Meher's name. Ring, heart bells, his boundless fame. He is God and he is man. At his nod the world began. He is truth and all beauty. He is true infinity.
Cling, oh cling to Meher's name. Spring so lightly in his game. He is giver, he is friend, love's great river, journey's end. Divine sun that shines for all, the same one for great and small.
Swing, oh swing on Meher's name. Fling away all praise and blame. He is love's immortal flower that illumines the lover's hour. He is the proud nightingale listening to his own sweet tale.
Bring, oh bring Meher's name. Sling in it the halt and lame. He is journey, he is goal, sweet companion to the soul. His banner has unfurled. It floats over all the world.
Wing, oh wing on Meher's name, string the jewels of his fame. He is grace and compassion, his face shines on each station. He is power, knowledge, bliss. He can give truth with one kiss.
This book, The East-West Gathering, was written by Francis Brabazon after taking notes at the East-West Gathering, and Barbara had it published as quickly as possible with all of this poetry and prose and 29 songs. It's dedicated to Meher Baba, who, knowing everything of the East and West and North and South, brought together the East and the West in his love. After the East-West Gathering, the time will come when men will not go to conference tables and convention platforms to bargain or exchange futile views on the problems of poetry or idle ideas on the shortest route to the stars. For Meher Baba has told us that all things, including the stars, are within us. But they will gather for love's sake only, and from such association return to their daily tasks, enriched and strengthened, for the main item on the agenda will have been song stories on the life of the God-man. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. What great listeners you are.
Beautiful.
Well, we left out so much, of course, but these poems, which are there not in italics, are kind of get overlooked a lot. And they're absolutely astonishing. They're poems on whatever Barbara had said or some impression where Francis, who had to take notes, it was Bow who was supposed to take the notes. But Bow just got so overwhelmingly busy with the thunderstorm and the Australians arriving late and it having to go for a week instead of 4 days that Barbara asked Francis to take the notes. And that's why we have this remarkable book, The East-West Gathering. And it's a unique book in history. I mean, whenever was the song story of an event unique in history of East and West documented at the Beloved's feet. So thank you for going along on this wonderful week. One of my favorite things to reflect on in Barbara is the East-West Gathering. And of course, the 4 journeys was, Francis had to point out the chart of that. Also, the first ghazal, comprehensible ghazal of Hafez's was translated by Barbara, and Francis was asked to version it. I'll just read that out for you. A more explicit exercise in Brabazon's tutelage occurred in Pune in November 1962. Mayor Barbara gave a first draft English translation of a Hafez Persian ghazal to Brabazon to versify in a tighter form. When Brabazon had completed the task, Mayor Barbara asked him to read out the fruits of his effort to the large group of Westerners who were present at the East-West Gathering. This was the first time that many had ever heard of Hafez or heard it recited in clear, meaningful language. Judging from this event, it appeared that Mayor Barbara wished not only Brabazon but all Western followers to have some experience of the ghazal and of this particular master of poetry. Here is the versification Brabazon read. Although you have not received love's guerdon, one day this desert will become a garden, so be not grieved. Do not turn your heart away, nor expostulate against the beloved, but bear your present state and be not grieved. Let this disgusted mind and troubled heart be stilled. One day desire for union will be fulfilled, so be not grieved. Behind the curtain, a secret game is being played that you know not, so don't give up or be dismayed or grieved. Once you have set out for the beloved's abode, do not let mere stones and thorns turn you from the road or be much grieved. Maya will do her best to thwart your labor, but when you have a captain like Noah, you will reach safe harbor, so be not grieved. When this friend is the same as God, don't plague him with petitions, but suffer gladly love's rules, trials, and conditions, and be not grieved. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is so nice. It's so lovely to read it together.
Mm.
The CD I put out, the original songs of the East-West Gathering, has some readings by 3 men, Sam Saunders, who's passed, John Isaacs, and Stephen Hine, and then the songs that were originally sung to Barbara in batches of 4 until he approved them for the book. And Francis apologized for them having, you know, Do You Ken the Call and other old melodies. And Barbara said, oh, don't worry about that. The melody's just to tickle the ear to let the words in, where we get that famous phrase from. Do you know the book well, Telly?
I wouldn't say I know the book well. I know it through the music that was composed by, you know, the man from Chicago. Who am I thinking
Oh,
of?
David Myotki's versions are
Yeah, David
fantastic. Yes.
Miyake. Yeah, that made a big impression on me when it came out, as it
Yeah.
did Andy and Peggy Muir, because I was in that
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And so I spent some time with it through that music, and I've heard David Miyake perform, at the Music
Asheville.
Sahabas,
Yeah.
Asheville. So I don't know the Francis's music versions except a little bit through you. But it's what Baba said. The melodies that David Miyake came up put the words in my memory bank pretty good,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and so that's the bottom line.
Oh, yes. I mean, there's no comparison between Francis quickly going, when Israel was in misery and Lord Moses broke Egypt's yoke, to David Myotki's when Israel was in misery and Lord Moses broke Egypt's yoke. He did no more than you for me when you Mayhair in kindness spoke. I mean, Francis, when he heard the album, he couldn't believe how similar some of them were. And of course, as we know, it's because the meat is so perfect, of the actual song ideas. Yeah, it's a remarkable book. I've put it on pretty much every year since I first spotted it. And I didn't spot it actually till like 74. We were so busy doing all this other stuff that I didn't. And then, of course, it was put on as a reading, as a little playlet and bits of it. And then, of course, I got into the 8 Sorts of Lovers and did that as a separate CD, and with some borrowed other melodies. But just a remarkable. I would just have loved to have been at the East West Gathering. It's one of my great regrets in life that I was just too young to have gone.
This particular copy that I have, I got to the end of it, and there's a little bookmark here, or book plate, Sufism Reoriented Inc., 2090 Sutter Street, San Francisco, California.
Oh, wow.
I probably bought this at the Sufi Center on Sutter Street in maybe
Right.
1971.
Oh, absolutely. That's when it was, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what I was buying. It's amazing because I've let go a bunch of books, but I still got this one.
Good for you. Fantastic. We could turn the recording off at that great point, Diana. Thank you, everybody. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.